Section 27 has been admitted as an amicus curiae, or friends of the court, in proceedings before the Western Cape High Court. The main application, brought by the SH and Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force, seeks to decriminalise sex work in South Africa. This legal mechanism allows entities that are not a direct party to the litigation to provide the court with specialist submissions, expertise and perspectives that may otherwise be absent, assisting the court in reaching a well-informed and just decision on a matter of great public importance. Section 27 will not be arguing for one party over another. Instead, it will offer an evidence-based perspective to the court. Let's chat more about this with senior legal researcher at Section 27, Tendai Mafuma. Tendai, thanks for your time today. Now, just walk us through what all of this means to the lay person.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us on the show, Hugo. Just to correct that, Section 27 is actually representing the Treatment Action Campaign and Sonke in this matter. So we are their attorneys, and these two organizations will be the friends of court, bringing forth evidence, like you said, that will help the court to make its decision in this very important matter that has been brought by sex workers and SWET.
So how does criminalisation of sex work violate the fundamental rights like access to healthcare, the right to security and equality before the law?
So the main case argues that there are sections of the Sexual Offences Act that violate that are unconstitutional, and these sections are the ones that criminalise sex work. And so what we are coming in with Sonke and the Treatment Action Campaign is to bring evidence that points to three issues, really. First is the violation of the access to healthcare services. We will bring evidence that shows that sex workers are often denied access to healthcare services due to their status as sex workers, and that their experiences with the public health sector is really shaped by stigma, by criminalization, and by fear of police surveillance. So as a result, they often are scared to go and access healthcare services. And this is actually a violation of their individual right to health, but also has huge implications for public health outcomes, in the sense that it has implications on whether they get treatment, on various issues that they may be facing. So that's one issue that we're going to be pointing out to the court and bringing evidence to show this. And this is evidence that the Treatment Action Campaign has collected. We're also going to bring evidence, like you said, to show that that criminalization of sex work has an impact on the right. For a lot of sex workers, criminalization fosters an environment of vulnerability to violence. This is often perpetrated by people in positions of authority, actually, sometimes from the police. And because sex work is illegal, sex workers are then reluctant to go and report these assaults for fear of then being charged with criminal offenses themselves. So this is the evidence that we're going to be leading as Treatment Action Campaign and Sonke, represented by Section 27.
So I'm curious to know how the health workers establish that a particular individual is a sex worker when they walk into a clinic or a health facility.
Yes, so a lot of the sex workers, this is their work, and they work in the communities where they live. And we know that we don't live in silos in the communities. People are well aware of who does what, and so in communities, people are aware of who are the sex workers who live amongst them. And so when they later present themselves to healthcare facilities, this is where they are often faced with this discrimination and stigmatization.
So I want us to touch on how the law impacts disproportionately, if you will, the poor, the black, female and transgender communities.
Yes, so this is also one of the angles that the Treatment Action Campaign and Sonke are going to be leading, showing the intersectionalities between decriminalization and how it impacts the right to health, and also disproportionately impacts women, particularly women and transgender persons and poor black women. Our evidence is going to show that a lot of the sex workers who face stigmatization and discrimination in public health facilities are usually women. And I think that is also just related to general health-seeking behavior, that women generally go to public health facilities looking for healthcare services, and then this is where they face the discrimination. We're also going to show that transgender persons as well and non-gender conforming persons also face similar discrimination, and that is adding to the discrimination that they already face just by virtue of being non-gender conforming or being transgender. And also in relation to sex to poor Black women being disproportionately affected by criminalization. These are a lot of the sex workers that Sweat represents are poor Black women who are conducting sex work as a means of livelihood. And so when they later then try to get facility services in the public health sector, which is mostly accessed by poor Black people, that's where they face this stigmatization that we speak of.
So if decriminalisation does succeed, how will it impact the lives of sex workers?
Look, we hope that by decriminalizing, first, they are able to conduct their trade of choice without fear of being arrested. And we also hope that by decriminalizing, we can also start to chip away at the stigma that is associated with sex work, because a lot of the stigma is associated with sex work due to its criminal, to the fact that it's currently criminal conduct. So we hope that by decriminalizing, we start to chip away at this discrimination and stigmatization of sex workers, and they're also able to access these essential healthcare services and other services much more freely, and result in better health outcomes. But of course, the decriminalization alone is not going to be sufficient for that. Just doing away with a law that criminalizes sex work is not going to be sufficient. We'll need to do a lot of advocacy work within public health sectors and other sectors to really point to the fact that this is now not only decriminalized, but also to show the various benefits of decriminalization.
And just very quickly, what are some of those various benefits? Because I'd imagine a big part of your challenge, as you've indicated, is going to be the stigma, and more importantly, the implementation, right, of some of these laws if they are passed. Because we have seen in cases where laws are passed in favor of certain groupings, such as women, for instance, but still the implementation doesn't actually occur.
Yes, so the first thing will be that once it's decriminalized, the stigma that associates with sex work arising from criminalization will fall away. And that's why I say we'll need to do a lot of advocacy around this. But there's also stigma that associated with sex work that is not, within facilities, and that is from a moral perspective. And so this is where a lot of the work needs to be done to show that where people become fearful of accessing services due to stigmatization, these are the impacts on their personal, for example, on their personal health, in the sense that they're now not going to healthcare facilities to receive the care that they need. But these are also the wider implications on population health, on public health implications. I'll give an example. So if sex workers are not able to go into public facilities to access, for example, antiretroviral treatment, where they're HIV positive, it means that they're not taking the treatment that they need to be able to become to manage their condition, so that they are not transmitting it to their clients. And so the impact is that we're actually not making great strides towards dealing with new HIV infections and reinfections as we would like to as a country, because they're not able to to take treatment and to stay on treatment. So this advocacy will be really important from that perspective, and it will be really important to deal with the positive outcomes that could come out of decriminalizing sex work.
And very quickly, Tendai, what resistance or misconceptions do you expect from your opponents? And what is that process of trying to convince them?
I mean, I think it's a very important thing to say in this matter is that, it has been brought against the state, obviously, because they are the ones who are in charge of the laws, but the state is not opposing the relief that is being sought by SWET. And I think it also goes to show the position of the state. This is a debate that has been in the public for a long time. And the state, I think, has arrived at the decision to also say there is no need to criminalize sex work. This is why they're not opposing this matter. But of course, in the last week, between the first and second, there was a 2-day hearing in the Western Cape High Court, and various the other parties who have now been joined to this matter who are opposing the case that has been brought by SWET, and there are also parties who have been admitted as amicus who are also bringing evidence that says decriminalization is not the best way to go. So there is already opposition in the matter, and we hope that the court will decide in favor of the applicants.
Tendai Mafuma, Senior Legal Research at Section 27, as they seek to fight for justice and decriminalisation of sex work for sex workers across the country.